In a house once filled with laughter, a horrific tragedy occurred, shocking everyone. The younger brother killed his own older brother, a crime that seemed like something out of a fictional story. Everything began with jealousy, envy, and a twisted relationship that crossed every moral boundary. Behind this cold-blooded crime lay haunting aspects of human nature, where love and hatred intertwined, pushing everything to an irreversible brink. What drove a once happy family to become a living hell? What secrets were hidden until the truth emerged amid guilt? Family tragedy. The killer is the victim's own brother. On June 22, 2023, at the police station in Lin Chuan Town, Fuzhou City, Jiangxi Province, police received a report from a local resident. Acting quickly on initial information, officers arrived at the scene in Lin Chuan. The scene was chaotic, with a curious crowd gathering even before the police arrived. Though unable to enter initially, the heart-wrenching cries of a woman echoed throughout. Upon arrival, the police promptly secured the scene, instructing the crowd to keep their distance from the house where the crime had taken place. On the grass in the front yard lay the lifeless body of a man, covered in blood. Beside the body was an elderly woman dressed in red, weeping uncontrollably as she clung to her son. The police faced challenges calming the grieving mother while managing the curiosity of the villagers, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. According to a witness present at the scene, the man lying on the grass was the elderly woman's elder son, Zhu Mofu, 35 years old. That morning, as he was passing by, he heard the old woman's screams, and when he ran over, he witnessed this horrifying sight. Shockingly, the person who attacked Zhu Mofu was none other than his younger brother, Zhu Mogui, aged 32. The witness continued, "When I arrived, Zhu Mofu was already lying there, and Zhu Mogui came running out of the house. He wasn't covered in blood, but there was blood on his hands. I tried to ask what had happened, but he ran away silently." Another neighbor living near Zhu Mofu's home added, "When I heard the commotion outside, I ran out and saw Zhu Mogui on top of his brother, repeatedly stabbing him, while the old lady beside him was begging him to stop. I hurried back inside to get my phone to call the police, but by then, the neighbors had already rushed over. It was a terrifying scene. What could have driven Zhu Mogui to kill his own brother? Did the two have previous conflicts? To investigate this, the police had to question family members. Since Mrs. Zhu was too emotional to provide information, the police turned to Xiao Mei, the elder daughter-in-law, Zhu Mofu's wife. Shocking secrets revealed. When questioned by the police about the events of that morning, Xiao Mei initially hesitated, then broke down in tears after a moment of silence and recounted the incident. It turned out that the motive went beyond mere harsh words. It originated from Zhu Mogui's romantic relationship with Xiao Mei herself, his sister-in-law and his older brother's wife. Once they understood the situation, the police immediately split into two teams. One stayed to investigate the scene, while the other returned to headquarters to issue an arrest warrant for Zhu Mogui. Despite a thorough search of Lin Chuan Town, the police couldn't find him, since he had fled just under an hour before the police arrived. He didn't seem afraid or intent on surrendering. Finally, the police announced a reward of up to 50,000 yuan for anyone who could provide leads on Zhu Mogui. Zhu Mogui, 32 years old, is approximately 1.6 meters tall, with a stout build, dark skin, long hair, a round face, and a missing tooth. He was wearing black pants and blue sneakers when he fled the scene. These details became crucial clues in the police's manhunt. At the scene, the victim's body was still warm, with multiple stab wounds to the chest caused by a pig slaughtering knife the killer left behind. Inside the house, officers discovered various items in disarray, possibly due to an initial struggle. Additionally, in the bathroom, the police found a blood-stained outfit, with blood smears still on the wall's edge. a sign that the killer had tried to clean up after the attack. The question arises, why would two brothers drive each other to such tragedy over a woman? The deep, numerous wounds on Zhu Mofu's body suggested a bloody vendetta rather than a mere family dispute. The lingering jealousy of a younger brother. Xiaomei, Zhu Mofu's wife, was 7 years younger than her husband, coming from a farming family. Although her parents weren't wealthy, they raised their children well. The family had 4 children, and Xiaomei, the oldest daughter, grew up taking care of her younger siblings, fostering a strong sense of independence. As she came of age, she started working various jobs, from factory work to helping in restaurants. She had experienced nearly every type of manual labor. Xiaomei was hardworking, gentle, and grew more beautiful with age, attracting the attention of many young men in the village. Yet, she showed no interest in any of them, and her parents didn't pressure her either. At 21, she met and fell in love with a young man from her workplace, but he was unfaithful, deceiving her in both love and money. After the heartbreak from her first love, Xiaomei lost trust in men and focused all her energy on work. As Xiaomei's parents grew concerned about her future, they sought a matchmaker to find a suitable husband for her. Initially, the matchmaker planned to set her up with Zhu Mofu. However, on the day they were supposed to meet, Xiaomei unexpectedly left home without a word. Yet, fate brought them together again. One day, when Xiaomei was dining at a restaurant next to where Mofu worked, her gentle and beautiful demeanor immediately captivated him. Later, on her way home, Xiaomei and her friend were mugged. Zhu Mofu happened to witness the incident and quickly intervened, allowing them to meet. After only a few encounters, their affection blossomed, and they decided to marry. Regarding Zhu Mofu and his younger brother Zhu Mogui, despite being only 3 years apart, their personalities were worlds apart. Zhu Mofu was kind and quiet, while Zhu Mogui was hot-tempered and narrow-minded. Though their parents were farmers, they did not spoil their sons, choosing instead to discipline them with strict measures. This approach worked well with Zhu Mofu as a child. He was mischievous, but each punishment taught him restraint. In contrast, Zhu Mogui was indifferent, stubborn, and walked his own path, often ending up disciplined more frequently. As they grew older, the differences in their personalities became even more pronounced. Due to the family's financial struggles, their parents had to make the difficult decision for Mofu to leave school, allowing Mogui to continue his education. Although Zhu Mofu didn't want to leave school, he accepted it, understanding his responsibility to the family. However, Zhu Mogui did not appreciate his brother's sacrifice. Despite the opportunity, his academic performance declined. During this time, Zhu Mofu had already begun working in town. His honesty and responsibility made him well-liked by his employer, and he earned a decent income. Seeing his older brother, who had left school, able to make money, Zhu Mogui felt left behind. He wanted to quit school and earn money like his brother. Under Zhu Mogui's persistence, their parents had no choice but to let him quit school. To avoid further issues, their father entrusted Zhu Mofu with the responsibility of taking care of his younger brother, hoping they would support each other and work together. However, this hope was short-lived. Zhu Mogui struggled to adapt to the hard manual labor. Just a few days after starting, he abandoned the job, disregarding his brother's reputation. Fortunately, Mofu's employer appreciated his work ethic and skills. Overlooking Mogui's irresponsibility, their parents were furious, threatening to leave Mogui to fend for himself. Over the years, through his diligence and abilities, Zhu Mofu earned an increasingly stable income. With his earnings, he renovated the family home, and by the time he was of marriageable age, his reputation had spread throughout the neighboring villages. Many parents wanted to marry their daughters to Zhu Mofu, but despite meeting several women, he hadn't yet found anyone who truly moved him. His parents, though concerned, supported him in his search for someone he truly loved. Finally, Zhu Mofu met Xiao Mei, and they quickly made plans to get married. The wedding day was carefully prepared, and his parents helped him choose an auspicious date for them to officially become husband and wife. But on this joyful day, an unexpected twist turned all happiness into a mockery in front of the villagers. Earlier, Zhu Mofu's parents had informed Zhu Moguei of the wedding date, hoping he would return to attend. He refused, insisting he would not come back until he was more successful than his brother. Yet, on the day of the wedding, he unexpectedly showed up, bringing his parents great joy. They thought it was heartwarming that, despite everything, Guei remembered his brother's wedding. However, after drinking heavily, Zhu Moguei began saying unpleasant things, accusing his parents of favoritism, only caring about marrying off his brother while neglecting him. He even went so far as to make an inappropriate comment, suggesting he wouldn't mind sharing his sister-in-law with his brother. Hearing this, his father slapped him and threw him out, telling him not to ruin his brother's big day. Tragedy begins with his return. Zhu Moguei left, harboring resentment toward his parents, and even when his father passed away from illness, he didn't return for the funeral. After that, he left home, almost cutting off all contact with his family. But no mother can truly abandon her child, and his mother continued to call him, hoping he would come back and live with them. Finally, after repeated pleas and realizing he had been wandering for years without making money, he agreed to return. This time, he also hoped to start his own family. His mother now lived with his elder brother after their father's death, and their old house had fallen into disrepair. With a forgiving heart, Zhu Mofu welcomed his younger brother back, hoping the old grudges had faded and a brighter future lay ahead. But the happy life their mother hoped for didn't last long. Upon returning home, Zhu Moguei refused to look for a job or help the family, spending his days idling around the yard, occasionally wandering through the village before returning. Villagers gossiped that he was living off his brother, which annoyed him but didn't change his laziness. Zhu Moguei had long looked at his older brother with jealousy. His brother had a family, a stable job, while he had nothing. He wanted a wife too, but think about it, who would accept a drifter, lazy and unwilling to work? One day, he returned home and sat quietly in the yard, observing his surroundings. At that moment, he noticed his sister-in-law, Xiao Mei, hanging laundry. His gaze lingered on her, and a dark thought crept into his mind. He approached her and offered to help with the laundry, without any suspicion. She agreed. From then on, Guei grew increasingly close to his sister-in-law, often helping her with small tasks. His brother and mother thought that Guei was finally changing, beginning to care about the family. One evening, after dinner, his brother had to leave to attend to some business. His elderly mother, with weakened eyesight and hearing, also went to her room to rest early. Guei stayed behind to help his sister-in-law clean up, then sat alone watching TV. Remembering he needed something from the kitchen, he headed downstairs. As he passed the bathroom, he noticed the door wasn't fully closed. Through the slight gap, he saw his sister-in-law taking a shower. The sight stirred up indescribable desires within him. Desire and a forbidden relationship. From the following day, Guei sought every opportunity to be near his sister-in-law. His brother worked from early morning until late at night, and his mother, with her poor eyesight and age, didn't notice anything unusual. These days presented Guei with ample chances to get closer to his sister-in-law. He often boasted, sharing stories of his experiences outside. Xiao Mei, a woman mostly confined to home, caring for her husband and rarely exposed to the outside world, found herself captivated by these stories. Over time, feelings grew between the two that defied boundaries, morality, and ethics. They began their affair. waiting for moments when his brother and mother were out to be close. Sometimes, even with his mother still in the house, they flirted openly, as if no one was around. Gradually, Gue became bolder, no longer hiding his feelings. Even in front of his brother and mother, he would subtly flirt with his sister-in-law. One day, his brother, Zhu Mofu, started to notice. The interactions between his wife and younger brother made him suspicious. Mofu questioned his wife about the closeness between her and Gue, but Xiaomei skillfully brushed it off, saying they were close like siblings since they saw each other so often. Though his wife tried to reassure him, Mofu remained suspicious. The following day, his day off, he suggested taking his wife out to rekindle their romance. Xiaomei hesitated, trying to find an excuse to decline, while Gue appeared annoyed, complaining that going out would be tiring and that staying home would be better. Their elderly mother also agreed, suggesting her eldest son should rest and take care of his health on his day off. Reluctantly, Mofu agreed, deciding to sleep in a bit longer. Around 11 a.m., he suddenly heard laughter from the kitchen. Listening closely, he recognized the voices of his wife and younger brother. He walked down to the kitchen and saw them playfully interacting, with Gue even placing his hand on his wife. Xiaomei, startled by her husband's presence, quickly pushed Gue's hand away and explained that Gue was simply helping her prepare lunch. That lunch was filled with silence. Sensing the tension, Xiaomei tried to start a conversation, but Mofu ignored her, leaving their elderly mother confused about what was happening. After lunch, the couple began arguing, but Mofu held back, concealing his suspicions. From that day on, Xiaomei intentionally kept her distance from Gue, but it lasted only a short while. Seeing that Mofu no longer questioned her, Xiaomei and Gue resumed their secret relationship. The husband's discovery and the bloody brawl. However, it's hard to keep a bad secret hidden for long. One day, Zhu Mofu pretended to leave for work, but secretly returned after 10 minutes, quietly entering the house. He was horrified to find his wife and younger brother embracing in Gue's room. They were whispering sweet words to each other, unconcerned that the door wasn't fully closed. Mofu was paralyzed with shock, then burst through the door, startling Xiaomei, who pulled away from Gue and backed into a corner of the bed. Fury overtook Mofu, and he lunged at his younger brother. Throwing punches, Gue fought back, unwilling to yield. The sound of the brothers fighting alerted their elderly mother. She rushed over, trying to intervene, but in their blind rage, neither of them heeded her pleas. They fought from inside the house out into the yard. At this point, Gue noticed a meat cleaver lying on the ground, grabbed it, and stabbed his brother repeatedly until Mofu fell to the ground, covered in blood. Their elderly mother watched in horror as her eldest son lay motionless, blood soaking the earth. She was devastated to realize the killer was her youngest son, yet Gue was unmoved by her cries. He coldly dropped the knife, went back into the house to change clothes, and quickly left. Hearing the mother's screams, neighbors rushed over and discovered the horrific scene, immediately calling the police. By the time officers arrived, Zhu Mogue had already fled. The police issued a nationwide warrant for his arrest. The fugitive is caught and lessons from a family tragedy. By 7 p.m. that same day, Lin Chuan police received a report that Gue had been spotted at a restaurant in Tongyuan, a town on the outskirts of Fuzhou City. They immediately sent a team to the scene, but Gue had already left. The restaurant owner reported that Gue had entered, ordered a bowl of noodles, and appeared calm, not like someone on the run. His daughter recognized him from the wanted posters and discreetly called the police. Officers reviewed the security footage, which clearly showed Zhu Mogue eating calmly, as if nothing had happened. They believed he was still in Tongyuan, so they quickly organized a patrol. As expected, early on the morning of June 23rd, Gue was apprehended in Chizhe village, Tongyuan. The police promptly launched an investigation to address the case. To date, Zhu Mogui's sentence has not yet been determined, as many factors, including the care of his elderly mother, must be considered. After the incident, Xiaomei, the one who sparked the tragedy, could only live quietly, caring for her mother-in-law. However, the old woman harbored deep resentment toward her, blaming her for everything and treating her with daily coldness and harsh words. As time passed, Xiaomei became more withdrawn, rarely going out to avoid the neighbors' gossip. Her parents never imagined that their daughter would bring such heartache to both families, leaving a deep scar. The house that was once a warm home for 4 people, filled with laughter and love, was now shattered by an act that defied morality. Xiaomei, the wife, the sister-in-law, had indirectly caused her husband's death, the man who had trusted and loved her. The relentless rumors and judgment from the community weighed heavily on Xiaomei. Once a beautiful, lively woman, she became aged, quiet, and secluded, as if wanting to hide from the world. As for Mrs. Zhu, the mother who lost her eldest son and had to witness her younger son become a murderer, the pain left her bedridden. She couldn't accept that her youngest, Gue, had killed his brother, all because of a woman. In the days following the tragedy, despite her suffering, she repeatedly contacted the court, pleading for leniency for her remaining son. The grief of a mother who has lost her child is overwhelming. Who could truly understand it? At Zhu Mofu's funeral, not only family but strangers who had heard of the tragedy came to pay their respects. Xiaomei, the one seen as the root of this tragedy, kept her head bowed, unable to meet anyone's gaze. Beside the coffin, Mrs. Zhu, a frail, haggard mother, knelt by her son's casket, her eyes swollen and red, seemingly out of tears to shed. That day was truly a somber and unforgettable one. As for Zhu Mogue, the perpetrator of the crime, his psychology was complex. Since childhood, Gue had been irritable and narrow-minded, harboring a deep sense of rivalry with his older brother. The differences in their personalities and his brother's stable life had planted seeds of jealousy and inferiority within him. His repeated failures in both academics and career only deepened Gue's feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and need for attention from his family. This made him susceptible to falling into an improper relationship with his sister-in-law, seeing in it a temporary escape from his loneliness and envy. The affair with Xiaomei only destabilized Gue's psyche further. Desire, rivalry, and the feeling of being overlooked consumed him, leading him to lose all reason. The act of stabbing his brother was an expression of rebellion, revealing his despair and inner collapse. It was not just a crime. It symbolized the destruction of his own soul and his life without a way out. After committing the crime, Zhu Mogue chose to flee instead of facing the consequences with courage. This action seemed to reflect his inner turmoil and an instinct to avoid responsibility. His refusal to attend his father's funeral, his disregard for his family's suffering, clearly indicated his isolated state of mind and unwillingness to confront his own wrongdoing. In this case, Zhu Mogui's mental state was a complex mix of personal psychological factors and societal pressures. His perceptions of himself, his relationships, and the judgment of society contributed to pushing him toward criminal behavior. This truly was a family tragedy, emphasizing that the fault lay not only with the younger brother, but also with the sister-in-law. To some degree, Xiaomei's softness and lack of resolve contributed to this painful outcome. Hopefully, this tragedy will serve as a profound lesson for all of us to cherish, love, and protect each other to prevent irreparable mistakes in life. What do you think about this case? Leave a comment to let us know your opinion. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive notifications about the latest cases. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos.